Hey guys, it's Jack here from I Collect Apple, and Apple have just held their Let Us Loop You In media event, and I'm going to do this quick video to have a run through of everything they announced at this pretty decent event. No big surprises, everything's more or less as we expected, but some pretty decent products were announced. So let's start off with the iPhone that they announced, which had been long rumored. It was eventually called the iPhone SE. This thing went through many names. It went through 6C, 5SE, and iPhone SE, and ultimately Apple chose SE, which people say stands for Special Edition. But this thing is essentially an iPhone 6S without 3D touch in an iPhone 5S body. The only difference to the body that's changed from the iPhone 5S is the fact it's now available in rose gold, along with the previous silver, gold, space gray. It's available in 16 and 64 gig capacity, and of course it has that 4-inch Retina display, which is what everyone likes because some people don't want the big 4.7 or 5.5 inch displays of the iPhone 6S or the 6. It has the A9 chip and the M9 coprocessor. The camera is a full 12 megapixel camera with live photos. Obviously it doesn't have 3D touch, as I said before, so to play the live photos you have to hold the screen like you do on older devices. And it has autofocus with focus pixels. It has a true tone flash on the back, and it has all sorts of things that were previously on the iPhone 5S that have been carried over that are all really good. The video recording's been upped. It now takes 4K videos at 30 frames a second, 1080p video at 60 frames a second, and slow motion is up to 120 frames per second in 1080p and 240 frames per second in 720p. The FaceTime camera remains at 1.2 megapixels, which is a lot worse than what's on the 6S. The 6S is a 5 megapixel camera. This is the same as what was on the iPhone 5S, but it does have the Retina flash. So the screen lights up, it detects the ambient light and lights up a true tone color to give you that flash that was introduced with the 6S. It has Touch ID, but only Touch ID the first version. It still doesn't have Touch ID 2. And of course it has an NFC antenna to allow Apple Pay. So now smaller iPhone customers can have Apple Pay. And the new iPhone SE starts at $359 for 16 gig and $439 for 64 gig. This is all in UK prices, so I'm not sure what the US pricing is right now. So it's quite cheap. I think they're going to sell really well because they're really powerful and they're great for people who prefer the 4-inch display. Next up, personally my favourite part of the event is they introduced a new 9.7-inch iPad, which, as we previously found out or rumoured, it wouldn't be an iPad Air 3. Instead, it's a new iPad Pro, being branded as the 9.7-inch iPad Pro alongside the now called 12.9-inch iPad Pro. What they've essentially done here, 6 months after releasing the original iPad Pro, they've made it smaller, which in my opinion is a better size, and made it better than the original one. Now, it's available in 32, 128, and 256 gig capacities. So, for the first time ever, an iOS device has 256 gig of storage. They've also added that to the existing iPad Pro, the 12.9-inch. But now the iPad Pro, the small one, the 9.7, is also available in rose gold, which the original iPad Pro isn't. But this thing's the same size as a iPad Air screen size. I'm not too sure about how thin it is. I'd imagine it's a bit chunkier and heavier than an iPad Air 2, but I cannot be sure right now. And the body has had quite a few changes. For example, it now has 4 speakers. It has a camera that protrudes out the back, and for the first time on an iPad, it has a flash, a true tone flash. So externally, it is quite different from an iPad Air 2. The resolution of the screen is 2048 by 1536, so it's not as high resolution as the iPad Pro 12.9-inch, but it still retains the same pixel density. Both are 264 pixels per inch. And it has this new thing called a true tone display, whereas the device has, I think, 4 sensors, where it detects the ambient light and changes the color of the display, a bit like the new night shift feature to, as Apple say, match paper white in any lighting condition. So we'll see how that goes. The rear camera is the same almost as the 6S. It's 12 megapixels, which is up from the 8 on the bigger iPad Pro. It can take live photos. It has focus pixels. It has a true tone flash. And it has a lot more than the big one. So it's definitely a better iPad if you're not bothered about having the massive display. Same again with the video recording. It's up to 4K, which previously it was only 1080p on the big iPad Pro. And it's got 60 FPS in 1080p mode, which the original didn't. And it has 1080p slow motion, which the original didn't. So as you can see, there's a theme here. It has a lot more, the camera's a lot better. And we'll continue that on to the FaceTime HD camera. The front camera is 5 megapixel on the new iPad Pro, whereas on the 12.9 inch it's only 1.2. And it also, once again, has this retina flash, which I just explained what that was. The 9.7 inch iPad Pro starts at £499 in the UK for a 32 gig Wi-Fi only model, and it goes all the way up to £839 for the 256 gigabyte Wi-Fi and cellular model. And of course this iPad has its own smaller smart keyboard, and it supports the Apple Pencil. Both cost the same price as before. Also, there are a few minor updates to the Apple Watch. Previously, a long time ago, we thought this would be where the second gen watch is introduced, but likely now that will be September. And notably, there were no Macs introduced either in this event, so they're probably going to be WWDC in the summer. But for the watch for now has had a price cut. Here in the UK, it's been dropped by £30, £30 in the UK, and I believe $40 in the US. And there are a whole load of new colours of sport bands, such as the yellow one and the royal blue one, very nice. And there's a space black Milanese loop now, and there's a whole new type of band which I'm not so sure about, but it might grow on me, which is this woven nylon band, which seems pretty cool, but I'm not so sure. Also, there were brief overviews of tvOS 9.2 and iOS 9.3, but we're not going to go into them now. Both are available today. And they did a whole load on how they recycle iPhones now, and they built a robot called Liam. I suggest you go check that out because that's pretty cool. So that is really it for what Apple announced at this event. It's, as I say, a pretty good event, nothing major, but it's some nice little updates. I plan on buying an iPad Pro 9.7 inch, and I'll be unboxing and maybe reviewing that in the near future. So stay tuned for that. Once again, guys, thanks for watching. Bye for now.